All right. We have the whole.
Okay,
Did you guys get all
everyone
your
here.
peepees out this time?
I got
our peepees
yes,
out.
but there's going to be more pee-pee.
Okay, all right.
I've been
That's why I went.
I've been
now.
overhydrating
Thank
in the
you.
mornings.
Is that what it is?
You guys big peers?
Yeah.
No, but I
Well,
think as we age, it's.
Oh no,
it's
I
the
know.
coffee that gets me because
the
as
coffee.
soon as you have the coffee,
That's
then
the only
you
time
gotta-
I feel my age is like at 3 a.m. when you get up for the stumble to the toilet.
To the toilet.
Then I
I've
feel my
heard
age.
about
I'm
that.
like,
I've heard about
oh.
that age.
oh, old.
That's not.
When did that
happening.
happen? That hasn't happened for me yet.
You're getting through the night.
I'm getting
every
through the night.
Yeah,
Really?
I am too, but not always. But
Well,
mostly.
if I wake up in the
nights.
middle of the night, it's the terror and the anxiety and all that stuff. But it's not the
It's not the
terror
pee-pee.
creeps in.
terror creeping. It's not the
Can't,
pee-pee.
you can't pee that out. Too,
You can't pee that out. I've tried.
only
I've tried.
Megan,
great.
get it out of me. But you can pee it out. Actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to really concentrate.
It's a penis thing.
do.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
a
see.
different tool, but
You have
it
to really
works.
focus though. It's not
Yeah.
easy. Like
Yeah,
it's a
you
skill.
really got to squeeze it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, here we are.
Randall Einhorn.
With Randall Einhorn.
We've been watching episodes from season 5, and every single one of them have been directed by you.
and they're all fantastic.
They really are, man.
And we thought we better get Randall on the pod so the fans can hear directly from him how brilliant we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Mostly we wanted you here to talk about
Talk
Reinforce
about
that,
to
yeah.
speak of our
Yeah,
greatness and tell it across the lands.
I I think the secret is just standing out of your way.
No, not at all.
You know,
Untrue.
that is what we thought the secret was too, for some time. And then you kind of came in and you really kind of pushed us a little bit. It's something we've been talking about. You know, you pushed us to be a little bit more ambitious, and you know, you would push back in a way that you know didn't get our hairs up and got us like listening to you. You know, you got us to do some kind of bigger stuff, which I think was really helpful and good, and we could
cool.
use more of that.
We were
Thank you.
discussing how when you came in, we I think it was a combination of you and Shackman, but around that time, the two of you guys took what we were doing and pushed it into just pushed the limits of what we could do, and episodes could be bigger, and we could get out of the sort of bar and apartments, and we could have a World Series defense episode, or we could shoot a hockey puck on a rink and and have some, create a stadium that we couldn't afford to or be allowed to be in.
Yeah,
And so anyways,
yeah, we did.
how'd you do that?
Over the years, we found that bringing in adults to the room have garnered great results. Meg's one of them. Randall's one of them. Matt Shackman was one of them. In some ways, Marta and Roselle, even though they're basically children, but they were able to
not gonna give them
synthesize
that.
what
We've
we
given
try
them
to
too
do
much.
into something a little bit more cohesive on a consistent basis. They were more professional in some ways.
Yes,
Well-
in some ways, they'd had more experience in other rooms, whereas we had none.
Yes.
To go on and on and on before we allow you to speak, I think
We're talking about him.
It's nice. I'm just sitting here and nod.
yeah, I think it is like look, the business. This particular business is one of collaborations, and oftentimes someone will come to you. I was just watching because I'm obsessed with watching a thing about like the making of There Will Be Blood, and Daniel Day-Lewis like sending voice memos to Paul Thomas Anderson and be like, oh, you want to do that with voice, and then warming up to it. Same thing with Phil Hoffman in Boogie Nights, where he was like, I want to talk like this, and he was like, I'm not sure, but I like to collaborate with people. There's a reason I'm working with this person. And I think you were the first person that we worked with who really was coming at us sometimes from an angle that we weren't seeing. And then we trusted you. We said, well, let's try a few sort of Randall ways.
Yeah,
And you sort of taught us a new way to shoot and cover the show. And
I remember him saying things like, you can be doing more with this and not spend more money and more time. Mm-hmm. Like you had an ambition that allowed you to, within the constraints of the budget of the show and the number of days that we had to shoot, where you were able to get big things in the same amount of time.
I think it was when, I'm not sure if you were using 3 cameras at that time, before I came in.
I think we were definitely using 3 cameras at sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like we have 3 cameras like
Yeah.
that.
I believe when you came in, you said you should be shooting 3 cameras
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Right,
Because
right.
why lose anything? Everybody's doing great stuff. And if you have, coverage, and a master, or, a way to hand off to another location, why not do that? So, yeah.
Can we start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's back it up.
I want to talk about your path in because I remember that for the very first time I met you, you had just come back you were a white water riverboat guide.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Can we talk about that?
I was a
Rafting though,
Yeah.
not riverboat, right?
raft guide. Yeah.
Raft guide.
And for
Whitewater
most
guide.
people who
I
don't
was-
know,
I don't think you
this
can.
is a pretty
boats are
normal.
Yeah.
This is a pretty normal path into the industry. So
It really
explain,
is.
explain how they should go learn how to whitewater.
So you
Raft
can
their
be a
way
director.
into Hollywood.
Yeah, no, it's a well-worn path from whitewater kayaking to directing. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson, like we just talked about,
I
another
believe
great
he was
kayaker.
on the waters of the LA River. here. Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick was also
Yes, in
a
New
very
York.
well-known
Yeah.
whitewater enthusiast. I was a whitewater raft guide, and I started filming expeditions, and I started filming
I remember that.
the raft trips.
Yes.
Now, this was in Australia?
In
or-
Australia,
in
yeah,
Australia,
but also like in Papua New Guinea and other places.
Sure.
And then I went and did. So I was filming those from a kayak. I'd kayak down the rapids, hop out, film the rafters come through, and sell them a
Did
really.
you have an interest, in shooting, being a director before? So you learned how to use cameras because you wanted to record your expeditions.
Yeah, I learned how to use it. That's exactly right. The company I was doing it for, I was leading these expeditions. They said, "Why don't you start filming it?" I'm like, "You mean like with a camera or something?" Yeah, okay.
Can we even go
try
back
that.
even further? Because now I think it's interesting. People love to hear people's journeys from the beginning. And
Yes.
so how old were you when you started doing that? Like what happened before that? Your interest lied in adventure sports?
Yeah, in really in whitewater, and all outdoor extreme sports. Skiing, hiking. Sea kayaking, mountain biking.
Where did you
you
grow up
grow
in
up?
like Ohio or
I
something?
did. I grew up in Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio, right.
Yeah, where lots of great whitewater there as well. But yeah, I just took off traveling when I was 18 years old, stayed away for really 23 years and kind of figured out who I was going to be. I got kicked out of high school, which is also the.
Oh, what'd you get kicked out of high school for? Tell us that story.
That's a good story.
Yeah,
No, nothing I'm proud of. It was an
proud of it.
accumulation of things. Yeah.
So you were a rascal. And
I was a rascal.
and a poor student. And so
He
you
wanted to be
said-
outside.
I-
They
yeah,
were
you
sticking
need
him
to
in a
be-
classroom, and he needed to be outside.
But no visions of being a Hollywood director.
I still don't know if I really wanted to. No, I do. No, I had never had any designs on this. I never even wanted to be a photographer or, a videographer. It just happened. And so I started filming it, and I started really enjoying it. And then Mark Burnett came through, and I ended up getting like some sponsorship for kayaking. Because I would go do stupid things, and people could take photos of me doing stupid things.
This guy's crazy enough
So-
to go over that waterfall with a camera.
yeah, he
So
could probably
let's-
sell Mountain Dew.
So yeah, I was doing that, and I got a call from a buddy who's a location manager who said, "Look, I need to find some river areas so we could do for this thing called Eco Challenge, which is a 500-mile wilderness adventure race." And that was Mark Burnett's thing before he did Survivor. So I took him on all these different rivers and showed him, some river sections because he needed him for the race. And I said, you should hire me to film it. And he did. And that's how I started filming.
Wow.
Now, what year was that?
1997.
1997, huh?
So 97.
So I went Eco Challenge, and I did 7 of those. I did them all over the world. Great gig. You just off on your own, carrying a heavy camera, trying to keep up with these hardcore adventure racers. So I did that for 7 years, and then I
By the way, was it film? Like in 97, were you shooting on film?
No, we're shooting on really, really heavy beta cams.
Oh, the beta
Really
cams.
heavy.
Yeah.
I convinced Burnett he should hire me on Survivor, and I DP'd the first Survivor, and then
That's a big deal.
Yeah, huge.
You were the. I don't know that I knew that. You were the DP on the first season of Survivor?
yeah.
And for our fans who don't know, that's the director of photography. So that means you're basically in charge of the cameras and the lighting. And there will be a director with you, but you have a lot to to say and a lot of input on the look and the style
technical
of
aspects
Yeah.
technical aspects.
Well, actually, there was no director out there. We were just shooting what happened.
So the
you know,
DP
kinda-
essentially was the director.
Yeah, we were just like you had producers who were logging with the conversations so they could build stories. But in terms of what we were filming, nobody was telling me what to film. We just shot what happened, in a kind of verite
Like
style.
documentary style.
Yeah,
sort
very
of
much,
Like run
very
and
much.
gun and just
Yep.
capture as much reality as you can. And
Yeah.
Do you feel like the experience of following around a bunch of maniacs on an island helped you in some way when
It was felt very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less asses and elbows. I could get them to face me.
Yeah,
But
that was
that was my key to directing. Like face me.
Well,
Face the cameras. When I can show
According
you.
to my research, it was your time on Survivor that was the reason that you were pulled into the office, because they wanted that feel, that real reality documentary feel.
I was in Jackson Hole, so people always hired me to go do stupid things with cameras, and I was filming Shaun White and Jeremy Jones, and I was I was skiing with them and filming them, and Ben Silverman, who was in the Video Village, says that's the guy who should be the DP of The Office. I'm like, I don't know why he thought that, because I can ski with a camera, and I have.
we know Ben,
I know
and,
Ben,
and he's
yeah.
just very enthusiastic and
Very
and
enthusiastic.
impulsive. but that sometimes it takes that, right, for someone to have that kind of vision to
Yeah,
say,
to see it.
yeah, to be like, why not this guy?
Yeah, I why you would think you'd take that guy and put him in a fluorescent lit office? I don't know, but Ben saw something. I suppose
It's the kind of radical guy we need filming people. in the office.
yeah.
Maybe it's that he saw you skiing while camera operating and thought, I could get this guy to do anything.
yeah. He's an
This is
insane person.
insane.
Yeah,
Well,
he's a maniac.
so now when you get that call and they say, hey, we'd like you to direct, how many episodes did they offer you?
Oh, so I was the DP on The Office.
first DP,
I was first
okay.
the DP on The Office, and I DP'd like over 100 episodes. And I met with Greg Daniels, and Greg and I got along really great and really enjoyed each other's humor and blah blah. So we in filming that show, Greg said, "You're telling jokes to the camera," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to." He says, "Well, you should direct some." I'm like, "Okay." So everything really has just happened to me.
But wait a
Through
second,
no
there's
designs of my own.
There's a big learning curve there, because I imagine when you're DPing Survivor, the lighting is practical, right? You go
Very,
into a
yeah,
building and,
totally.
and it's lit. Like when you're DPing The Office, you have a gaffer and a best boy, and you're hanging Kino flows or whatever they were using at the time, and you're in charge of how that looks. So, what was the learning curve there in terms of?
That was big.
Yeah,
it
was
was a
it-
big learning curve. I'm like, who are you? I remember the first time I started filming something. My grip was, he grabbed me by the belt. I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, oh, I'm just making you safe. I'm like, you don't. I can't see where I'm going when I'm going backwards if you're there. And it just freaked me out. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you holding me? I got this.
It's like you can't touch certain things that other people can touch. You can't pick up a C-stand. You probably didn't know what a C-stand was.
I have many. What is that called? Many offenses of doing that. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I just had
But
to
what
grip.
you're alluding to there is it's very common practice that if a camera operator is moving backwards, there'll be a grip behind them
To
make sure
who's
they don't-
making sure they don't fall down or step over something. But what you're saying is that's the first time anybody had looked out for your safety.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
You were just before that, you were just walking backwards with a camera in the jungle.
In the jungle.
So, did you do any sort of book learning to try to figure out these things, or did you just, it was all on-set experience?
It was all on-set experience.
Wow.
I kind of think that my greatest asset is not knowing any better.
Sure. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you can actually, there are no rules, thirds. I don't know. It looks cool when I put him in, doing the interviews on Survivor. I thought it looked interesting for it to be in ninths rather than, and make the environment a character, or even
I
maybe
don't know
bigger.
what that means.
Yeah, so explain that.
What is thirds and ninths?
Well, there's this rule of thirds in framing.
Yeah.
That it's really nice to split the frame into thirds. That's
Right.
a very conventional way of thinking about framing. But on Survivor, I thought that the environment was more as much a character as the person sitting there being interviewed. So I played with heavy foreground elements of, ants crawling across a raw log in the foreground of a person talking. So I think stuff like that was, not knowing any better, was a very liberating.
Were you nervous about like matching eye lines or anything like that? But you knew you were going to cross cover, so those things would sort of tie in automatically.
You know what? From filming observational documentaries and reality, the eye line is never in question. You never think about it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're on Survivor and there's 5 people in a conversation, and you have 2 cameras there, plus the boom operators. And all of a sudden, somebody over here starts talking, and the line gets crazy. So one of the operators knows that they need to duck out of the frame, go and get on the other right side of the frame. So you're constantly adjusting the frame line so that it doesn't look like people are talking away from each other.
Yeah.
Because if you want both people looking like they're talking to each other, and if you're on the wrong side of the line, it'll appear that
It does look goofy.
Yeah. So that was a really good skill. Like, I didn't need to learn that in a book because I had to learn it every single day with all these camera operators and the boom operators. And thinking about that, Survivor was boomed. There's no lavs on people, right? And there's 8 people in a tribe who are all having a conversation. You never know who's going to talk, and the whole show is boomed. They're not wearing anything.
Where does it go?
Yeah.
Their naked skin.
They're like
Or
naked
on
and afraid.
And
Aren't they wearing T-shirts and shit? Like, no,
they're free to take it off and do whatever.
Okay.
So they're
I didn't watch a lot of Survivor. So
me neither. Apparently, a lot of people did.
And continue to. I believe it's still on.
very
It's still on?
It's still surviving.
Oh yeah.
I have never seen one episode of
Yeah.
Survivor.
I
have not
the
either.
first season.
I have nothing against it. I just didn't. It never came across
that's
my
okay.
radar. It's
remember-
been on for 30 years.
Yeah, Burnett pitched it to me, and this buddy of mine, his location manager, like, he pitched the show to us. I'm like, that is the dumbest idea ever. Nobody's gonna watch that. Anyway, he was right. I was wrong. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Did you think the same about The Office when you heard it? Boring. Why are people?
No,
why
I
do people care about
love the British Office.
it? Yeah. Me
Well,
too.
for us, that was the show that I think made us think we could make our own show because of the way it was shot and lit.
The British Office.
Yeah, the British Office,
British
because the lighting was so practical and because the cameras were so handheld. We thought, well, we can go into a room with tiny cameras and practical lighting. That we can do, so we can make something that looks like that. So I think it was a natural
And I think we
evolution for us to
also trying to capture the improvisational quality of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it just felt like the coverage was the coverage and the lighting were way less important than capturing performances in the moment, capturing real conversations, moments that can only happen once, because if you try to turn around on it, you're never going to remember and it's never going to be the same. And so that was a big inspiration for us, like the British Office and Curb.
That's a big reason for me to want to shoot 3 cameras.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that you're never losing any of that.
Yeah.
And it also, I think when you're shooting with 3 cameras, it affects the actors, tell me,
Absolutely.
in a way that then you're on.
It is the absolute best to not have to do your side and then turn around and do the other side.
Well, it's like you said, if you're on at the same time as I'm on, we're both on camera, then I'm going to get a better performance. He's going to get a better performance from me because I'm on camera.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be off camera, like reading my lines or,
However, there are limitations to that aesthetic, right? And I'm sure you've now moved on to shooting all sorts of different ways. So I'm sure you've worked on shows where you've had to like set the camera and then turn around and do a whole very different.
Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really one camera.
Well, the Coens
and
always
wide
shoot
angles.
from within, right?
Yeah.
So not always, but like most of their scenes, you'll see that camera is in between the actors instead of, that sort of run and gun documentary over the shoulder style. So
Yeah. They're
Fargo,
inside, yeah.
Yeah, it's all very inside. But
Do you have a favorite of those ways? Would you rather be out in the jungle again? Do you like the mockumentary style?
Oh, I do like the mockumentary style. I do like being outdoors. I would love to shoot something outdoors again. I remember the other operator who became the DP on The Office, Matt Sohn, and we met on Eco Challenge and Survivor. So, and I remember there was one episode we were going to film out in the woods. It was like, we're both looking through our adventure gear, figure out what pants, and they were all old and packed away in the back of the cupboard. We were dusting it off, and yeah.
you want to split this granola bar from 1997?
It's vintage.
Still good, man.
They were good.
Cut that. Guys and Meg, what are you doing October 8th?
I don't even know what day of the week it is.
It's a Sunday. Because you know what? The Birds are back in town. Philly plays the Rams at SoFi that afternoon. That's in Los Angeles, so you know I'll be there. Obviously, we're all going, right?
When are you buying tickets? I got to check with Mary Elizabeth, make sure we're free that day. When are you getting tickets?
Yeah, you guys know that there's no need anymore to make these kinds of plans months and months in advance. I mean, we can always just come back for tickets on Game Time.
Wait, what?
You guys don't know Game Time?
GameTime.co, GameTime.co.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, it's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the hottest sports, music, comedy, and theater shows near you. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I've always had great luck scooping up last-minute tickets with them. They're very, very good.
Yeah, they're awesome, and they got that best price guarantee. Baby, you know, we can focus on more important matters at hand, like planning our pregame. Now that's something.
I call Green Man.
Okay, I'm looking through GameTime.co right now. And it looks like there's tons of great flash deals. I mean, there's even views of the seats and protection against event cancellation.
Yeah, plus, if you find tickets in the same section or row for less, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Woo! Basically, you would make money to go see Hurts and the boys. You know what I mean?
Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Sunny for $20 off your first purchase.
Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. That's GameTime.co.
Look, terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Sunny for $20 off.
You guys, what do you think of when you think of the sound when you hear ching?
Oh, like ching, 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 ching goes the money tree, and it chings money. Money come to me. Ching, ching, ching. Money, 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 me now. Money, me making now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlie, I think of a cash register because I'm not up on my Wall Street Mother Goose or whatever.
No, I was just saying money, me, I'm making now.
It's fine. It's fine.
That I get.
Okay.
That I get.
But listen, both of you are right. Okay, so don't worry about that. All right, it is the sound of someone making their first sale on Shopify.
Shopify.
That is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide.
Yeah, do you guys know that the Sunny podcast website is actually built on Shopify? That's true because Shopify simplifies selling online and in person. So you can focus on successfully growing your business, whether, according to this copy, you're selling succulents or stilettos.
Yeah, what I want to know about is selling succulents and stilettos. Who's in the middle of that Venn diagram?
Well, that's right. It covers every sales channel, okay, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it even lets you sell across social media markets like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah, we sell Sunny podcast merch on Shopify, and let me tell you, it really helped us move those creep pins and keep our books in order so we're not drowning in accounting.
Yeah, and it's packed with industry-leading tools to ignite growth, so you can level up your biz without having to learn any coding or design skills yourself. Not to mention, they have 24/7 help and an extensive business course library. So they're there to support your success every step of the way.
Whether those steps are in heels or not, okay, this is possibility powered by Shopify.
So now it is your turn to get serious about selling and try Shopify today. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period. $1 per month.
That's all you got to pay is $1 per month?
Yeah, you go to shopify.com/sunny, all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/sunny to take your business to the next level today.
Shopify.com/sunny. You've got a lot of The Office under your belt and you get a call to try this other show. What do you do? Do you see a few episodes before you come in?
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, because you had only, in terms of scripted television, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you had only done The Office before you came and did Sunny with us.
But I directed, I think at that point, I probably would have directed, done like 16 of them. So
like
at that point,
directed,
I would have been 6 of them.
Yeah.
And I remember, I knew I wanted to move away from DPing and start directing more. And Greg Daniels let me go do other shows and still come back and be the DP.
That's cool.
So I didn't have to, who the hell does that?
I remember in our first meeting, one of the things that struck me about you was there was a confidence and an ambition that was there that I found.
I was faking that.
Yeah, it might have been
that.
I
had the ambition.
Well, everybody's faking
right
it.
now.
That's what you
Right?
learned. Yeah.
Were you really? You don't strike me as someone who is faking it. You strike me as a genuinely confident person when it comes to your work.
I am confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's foolhardy or not, I am
But I think that's what it is, right?
quietly confident for no apparent reason.
Maybe that's the adventure background, right? Like there's a little bit
When
of
you
like
meet a bear in the woods, you got to act like you're the bigger bear. Even
even if you're not. Yeah. Or when you're skiing down a mountain and you're going at a speed that where you're just maintaining control, but you're also right on the edge of catastrophic failure. And you just sort of learn a little bit that like you can do it.
Right.
Sometimes you can't, you don't need to always overthink it first. You need to like jump into it, thrust yourself into it, figure it out, have fun, and then just trust that it'll be there when you need it.
So my only real formal training is raft guiding and river rescue. Like I think that, guiding a raft down a river, forward paddle, you don't really want to call forward paddle like a question. You want to go with confidence. And you need to be confident and direct and to call that type of thing out. So I think I had that type of training of trying to get people to do things that they weren't necessarily comfortable with.
Yeah.
And that is a skill I suppose I still,
Yeah, I mean, you certainly possessed it at the time. I mean, like I said, I think you pushed us in ways that other directors hadn't quite pushed us. And you did it with a certain confidence and enthusiasm that was, seductive to us, I think.
Did we have a meeting before, or did we just hire you?
No, we had a meeting.
We did?
We had a meeting. I remember, it was the first season that we had shot on the Fox lot.
Uh-huh.
And I believe the three of us shared that corner office on the third floor. Third floor? Is it third floor? Fourth floor?
Yeah, back on
and
looking over the alleyway.
Yeah. And we met in that office, I think. Is that do you remember?
Yes, I do,
believe
and I
we met
remember
in that office.
I remember the conversation, and it was a lot of exactly what you led with, which is I think what you guys are doing is really interesting, but you can go further. And we were so used to meeting with directors, especially early on, who would say, you can't really do that. That blocking won't work. You won't hit the light. We would always be like, why? The show looks like shit, so who cares? And we're just trying to capture what the actors are doing. And you came in and said, forget all.
You didn't care about any of that.
You didn't care about any.
You didn't care about any of the stuff that we didn't care about. And I think we really liked that.
I'm now remembering this meeting. That's
we were
right.
like,
that's right.
People get caught up on this and then, and you were on the same page as us. You were like,
it was a
none of that shit
refreshing
matters.
take because no one had spoken to us like that about the show.
Yeah.
It's interviewing 101. You come into the room where the bosses are, and you're like, everything you guys are doing is great. And you're right about everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to make you better versions of what you already are, which is great, to be clear. And we're like, wow, this guy's
really smart.
so smart.
This guy's a really good director.
Wow. There's something about this guy
that I like. I don't know what it is.
I remember Shackman's interview, and it was totally different, right? Like, he was like, nah, I like to work this way, and I would probably do things my way, and we're like, well, that's interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also with the same degree of confidence in himself that allowed us to kind of give over to that. But
that's the big thing. Like, do you have a vision? Do you have a vision that is your own, and does it gel with ours? Because you could come in and be like, the whole thing is going to be lit brighter and, done.
I mean, to me, like as a director, form follows function. That's why The Office looks like The Office, and Fargo looked like Fargo, and Wilfred looked like Wilfred. It wants to serve the material, and the material was you all. It was all these characters, and it didn't matter how it was lit. It just had to be funny, and everybody. I think there's so much preciousness to filmmaking that filmmaking often gets in the way of filmmaking.
Yeah,
I think that's true.
Certainly on a show like this.
Yeah.
But and also you came in and we liked you. And people disregard that sometimes when they think about like how to prepare for an interview or to come into a new position. Well, I just have to be technically good. But the truth is you're spending a lot of time with the people that you're working with, and you just seemed fun and affable and game and the kind of person we would want to spend time with. And that goes a long way. And we knew we would have fun with you, and we did.
It's true though. It's like you going in to shoot a show, I'm going to spend more time with the actors than I am awake with my wife.
Right. During that short, intense period.
Yeah.
What was your impression of us? Were you like, these guys were younger than I thought, or were you like,
were you thinking like, God, they're
three very handsome men?
Very handsome in person.
What was it like? Did you sort of feel like these guys know what they want and I'm going to stay out of their way? Or was it like, oh, these guys are lost, they need some guidance? Or
No, these guys definitely know what they want. I should be here to make it even better than what they want. I mean, that's what I think a director's job is to make it better than, the way that it's written, or make it as best as it can, be performed. I think the director's job is just serving the material. So coming in and I'm in charge, it's like, yeah, you're not really. It's part of a bigger thing. You've got something going on. Yeah. But I remember meeting you all. It's like there's 3 of you, so like just or 4 or 5 of you, and you're all on all the time, and it's really, really fun. But it's kind of challenging when you're the new person. You're coming in to talk to the 3 people who have been there through all of it. You just need to make sure that what you think is right. Yeah. And that you have a way of backing it up, because, it's just the numbers of it. I need to convince 3 people that this is the way to do it. I remember there's one shot I was doing on Wrestling for the Troops that was coming out of a mirror to reveal.
Yes, I remember that. I remember so many conversations about that.
And I remember I just
we're in our bird costumes.
In the bird costumes.
Yeah.
There's very, very, very cool bird costumes with a stenciled abs as well.
Yes.
Nice touch. Just coming out of the mirror, and you all weren't certain you wanted to do it. Yeah. And so I shot it and showed it to you. Go, yeah, let's go do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You would pitch stuff, but you were never precious about it. Like, you would pitch things that you felt like would work and would maybe make the scene funnier or whatever. And sometimes we would say no. We were like, no, I think this is funnier. And it never sapped you of your confidence. It never stopped you from continuing to pitch stuff.
I'd cry the whole way home.
Sure. From the
now, was Danny
rejection.
rough on you in the beginning? Now, Danny can sometimes test a new director. I don't know.
But I think he can smell the people that he can do that with, and who he can't. He does it in a funny,
it's like an old school Hollywood thing, I think, where he's like,
it is,
he's like, I'm going to see, if you like if you're worth my trouble. You're like,
and if you if you need to be able to take some shit, like, can you take my shit?
Can you take my shit? Yeah, not in a mean way, but like,
he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah, maybe it's a Frank Reynolds thing. But like, if you say, Dan, I think maybe you'd be in this chair. You're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
He can push you. Yeah. But he didn't give you any of the business.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think he gets to do that. He's Danny DeVito.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So it's like he's doing it all good fun.
Yeah.
But I think it could be an intimidating thing coming to the show and being like, oh, it's Danny DeVito. I need to tell him to stand over here.
Well, I mean, we felt that way, in this when we first hired Danny, and we would be like, I got to go give Danny DeVito a note. That's crazy. Yeah. That's insane. Like, I can't,
Yeah, that is.
How do you do that?
Kind of crazy.
How do you give Danny DeVito an acting note?
Yeah.
You're like,
now, Danny, because he's such a legend, it is kind of intimidating doing that, I mean, but oftentimes I always find that like the best note is the note you don't give. You just go again and they give themselves the note. So by the time I'm coming with a note, I really believe it. Like the best notes I ever gave Edie Falco were the ones I never gave her. I remember just learning, just shut up, Randall.
Just let her, she'll feel it.
Shut up. Yeah.
But juggling of personalities, right? It's just crazy.
It is. I think every actor needs something different. And that's, recognizing what everybody needs is part of the, you should figure that out really, really quickly before you start working with people.
Well, I think the good thing is like the 3 of us, we like to get in and get out.
Yeah.
So like my feeling, you know what I mean? If I don't have to be there all day, like if you're like, turn the light on with your left hand, I'll be like, I'm going to figure out how to turn it on with my left hand because I don't have a whole fucking conversation about it. Otherwise, this is a 10-minute conversation about whether I should turn on with this hand.
But it's not because you don't care, or like when we're there, we give 100%. We just have done this long enough to know that giving 100% for 5 hours versus 8 hours is not going to yield a tremendous amount of difference. So let's do it for 5 hours instead of 8.
Well, you learn to pick your battles, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is not something like I can figure this out. Like I don't need to make it into a whole thing or a 10-minute conversation about something simple. But then every once in a while, you do. You're like,
I worked with Donald Sutherland one time, and he was incredible. He's one of my favorite actors, like of the 70s and 80s, and he was one of those guys that comes from the old school, and he just had to deliver a very simple line, and the director came in and gave him it was Shackman actually and gave him a note, and Donald wanted to talk about it for for 45 minutes, and it was just a simple thing. And Matt realized, okay, he stepped in it. Now he's going to go, and we shut down everything. And Donald talked about it for 45 minutes. Then he came back, and he said, "Okay, I feel good." And he did the line. It was exactly the same, And we looked at it in post. The same line delivered the same way, but Donald felt differently about it. And Shacklin and I talked about it, and we realized like what's important here is not that so you could go back and prove an actor wrong and say, look, don't you see it's the same guy? Yeah. But the fact that he felt better made him better throughout the rest of the day. And sometimes catering to the emotional needs on an individual basis of somebody who's supposed to come in and emote and be vulnerable and just by nature be artistic and somewhat difficult is part of the gig.
I mean, what you all do is putting yourself out there in a very, very open way. You're fully exposed. So no matter what it takes, you need to make that actor feel comfortable, that they're not standing there with egg on their face or doing something that's not true to their character or just feels unnatural. Everybody needs something different.
It's good. You're a problem solver, I think, also. Like, I think you approach things from the standpoint of like, I think it's easy to get stuck in like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And if you can't get somebody to do it, you could get frustrated about it. But I never sensed you getting frustrated with us, even when we did get into conversations about things where we were battling it out about how a certain thing should be shot.
Right.
And we disagreed with you.
You are quite unflappable. And we are very frustrating. Very frustrating.
When you, pitch these things to them, like coming out of a mirror, is that something that you think about in prep, or do you show up on the day and you see a mirror and you go, "Hey, I think we could do something"?
No, we placed that mirror there.
Okay.
Because I knew I wanted to do that shot. I have every single shot worked out well in advance. I do these overhead schematics that shows where people's nose is going to be pointed.
Wow.
So it's just a circle with a round thing on it.
Oh, I remember you did these. I remember looking at these.
Yeah. And you might have a red circle with a red nose, and you might green. So all the characters, I know where they're looking, who they're talking to, and where the cameras are. I'm not very smart, so I have to have a plan. And by doing that, by the time I get there, I'm going to have the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
It's just everything we else figure out on the day is gravy.
But sometimes people that get really locked into those things and then they come in and the actors go, "I don't want to stand there. I don't want to do it."
Yeah.
They freak out because they have their whole plan for the day. But it must be your reality background too that lets you be pretty adaptable even with your plans.
Yeah. I mean, I call it, I usually say I have a theory about people standing places.
Yeah, that's right.
Saying things.
That's great.
And it's only a theory until you put it on its feet, and then it could have been, you discover whether it's just a stupid idea or not.
Really?
Guys, I got to pee.
See, this is...
Look at that.
I'm sorry.
What they need to feel safe is the ability to go
empty
pee
bladder.
whenever they want to, and that's...
I think it's
really
important.
A study in male aging. This show.
We are all familiar with economic uncertainty these days, right?
Oh yeah, our stock's going up. Are they going down? What are they doing? Are we all good again, or are we headed right back into a major collapse?
Yeah, and that uncertainty, it bleeds into every aspect of business, especially trying to find people.
You mean like trying to find people to take over a timeshare?
Finding people to get got?
No, I'm talking about like just hiring people. Like you're trying to hire people.
Oh shit.
That's what I'm saying, right? And I'm also, what I'm saying is, and it's more important than ever, to hire the right people faster and more efficiently to keep costs down.
That's where ZipRecruiter comes in. It's a platform that streamlines hiring and helps you find the most qualified candidates. From pricing to technology, everything that ZipRecruiter does is for you and what works best for you.
And right now, you can try them for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Sunny.
Yeah, we used it to hire an ad salesperson for our team. And what I really liked is how straightforward the pricing was. So you always know what you're paying before you post. It, helped us stick to our budget.
Yeah, also, I know that ZipRecruiter is also known for their own smart technology, which sends your post to over 100 job sites and identifies the best matches for your position.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the only way to find the right people for the job.
Right now, can ZipRecruiter find people to buy our timeshare?
No, you're never going to sell it.
Can ZipRecruiter buy our timeshare?
No. Okay, you guys got scammed. Just deal with it. Accept it, okay?
Hire the best with the help of a partner who's all about you. ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Just go to this exclusive web address to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/sunny. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/SUNNY.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Speaking to your unflappable nature, to this business and succeeding in this business is so much just putting yourself out there, and it's mostly rejection. Every now and then you get a breakthrough. Every now and then you get a show that is a hit and you hang on for dear life and do 16 seasons of it. Or, every now and then you break through, but mostly it's a lot of lumps. You don't strike me as someone who gets affected by the lumps. And if you have had the lumps, I'm curious what they even are. Like, have you had the ups and downs with this business, or are you just going down the river? And
I am going down the river. And I think it's I have definitely had lumps, and you just can't let that lump make you unhappy. I mean,
what is a lump for you though? Like getting. Have you been fired off working on a show, or have you been
yeah.
Sure.
That's a lump. It makes
that's a lump.
you really start doubting yourself and questioning yourself. And was it something I did? How I could have done it differently? And of course, the answer is no. I was perfect. They were all wrong.
Well, that's actually right. Like the answer is they wanted something, you were offering something else, and that's what. And then you move on to the next.
But it's like at the end of the day, it's just television. Nobody's going to die. I think that is also something that comes from expedition work, is that, oh, a light fell down. Oh, it's raining. It's too windy. We can't shoot. It's like, nobody's going to die and everybody's going to eat.
Yeah.
And we're going to sleep in a bed, which is dry.
Have you ever been in a situation while shooting where you're like, somebody might die right now? Like when you were skiing or doing these adventure treks? Has it ever gotten hairy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. For sure.
I must have been scared to be like, am I going to film my own death right now?
Yeah, no, it's usually, I don't think it's going to be, I have this thing where I never think it's going to be me. It's never going to be me until, I'm laying there in a crumpled mess.
Oh, wow.
Now, what about advice for young, aspiring directors, like someone who wants to be the next Randall Einhorn?
I think directing television is going around and being an episodic director. Understanding that it's not your show is the biggest thing and the most liberating thing. That when you get there, if you don't want to do it the way that I saw it, that's cool. I'm just a guest.
Yeah.
So I think really having the confidence to know what you want, but also be happy in, not necessarily getting what you want, but getting what the show needs.
I've heard it described as you're like the babysitter. You're not the parent. So if the parents have decided that this child is being raised vegetarian, it's not your job to come in and serve the kid burgers,
Yeah. Usually on TV shows, there's always somebody there behind you.
Yeah.
Which is why I tend to not do much episodic guest directing anymore, is because I'm happy to collaborate. I really enjoy it. But it's also really nice for me to know when I've got it, and I just got it and I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, and you directed the pilot of the Mick, and many episodes as well.
Yeah.
Of the Mick. So you were there to establish the look. and feel
talk about
of
that for a second, because that's a different situation. Because if you're going and shooting the pilot of an episode, you have a lot more agency over how the show is produced, how it's shot, how it looks. Can you talk about that process a little bit versus just episodic directing?
Yeah, episodic. I mean, you're serving the pre-established material, and directing a pilot, you're actually establishing what that pilot, the tone will be, the look of it, the how it finds its humor or its pathos, whatever. And so I love directing pilots because it's such a ground up building situation that you are creating a foundation for the show to go for hopefully many, many seasons.
Yeah.
Also, Abbott Elementary, right? You directed the pilot of that.
I did. Oh, did you direct the pilot of that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you directed the pilot.
Now, so that means you've done
Congratulations.
3 different shows shot that are supposed to take place in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I know.
The Office,
Yeah.
Abbott Elementary, and this one.
Yeah, we went back for the finale of Abbott. We went to Philly, and that was great. I went out there scouting it on my own, and I just hopped on a bike and just rode everywhere.
Oh, that's fun.
It was really cool. Riding over to West Philly, and all of a sudden the streets get really, really shitty.
Did you do
Yeah, I would advise against the riding of the bike. Did you hop on a raft and get down to Schuylkill?
No, I think
Because that'd be a good whitewater rafting.
So we were trying to remember when we
yeah.
shot the World Series defense, and we shot the stuff with the Philly Frenetic, with him getting in the fight with the Philly Frenetic.
Yep.
You know, and us and me bruised and battered, and then we do the red eye bit or whatever. It was right before we go the Holiday Inn. And in the background, there is an actual game being played. And we were trying to figure out if the stadium was full because we put in some CGI to make it look like it was full, or if there was an actual...
Well, here was the big mystery too, because the first scenes, the stadium's clearly empty, and it's as if we've gotten there early. And the later scenes, it's now full, and we're talking, as scripted, that the game has begun. But knowing our shooting schedule, we'd be like, we wouldn't have been there for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, like 15 hours at that location. So what did we do?
I think we shot it. I think we shot that over a couple days. I think we wanted it to be empty, so we. And then we wanted it to be full, so we actually came back and made it full. Yeah.
Are you sure we did that, or did we time it in such a way?
Well, I think either was split up over a couple days.
But either way,
or-
this was not CGI. This was
that was not
what I thought.
CGI.
Nice.
And we just timed it that way. It was either we timed it that way by splitting it up over a couple days, or just scheduling it that way.
This looks like a show that would use CGI. At this point,
But we did.
Right, and we did with you. We did a big CGI thing with the gang reignites the rivalry.
Yeah.
With the writing and fire
Also
on the lawn.
oh, yeah.
Remember, that was like one of the biggest CGI things we had ever done.
And also the
Flyers.
also the hockey.
The hockey. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. No, that was much bigger.
Yeah.
Much bigger. That was crazy.
That stupid trench coat.
Yeah. Should we watch some Randall
I've got
Einhorn
tons
clips?
of Randall clips. So
do it.
maybe the question is, do you have a specific scene you remember really loving how it turned out from the show, or anywhere you'd like to start?
I mean, gang rest, for the troops, I thought was a really good episode.
Yeah.
And I remember that we finished the fight scene where Danny crashes the chair over Sweet D.
Yeah.
And I think I did the most setups I've ever done on
In one day, you did like 50 something.
I think it was like 90.
Yeah,
It
you
was
know what? I
90
think it
setups.
was like 90 steps
Yeah.
in one day. I remember this, and it was like a lot of pages too. Like the amount of pages I think you also had the record for pages in a day.
Yeah.
We had one day where we shot like 12 pages.
Yeah, 12, 13
See,
pages.
my greatest asset is not knowing any better. My greatest motivator is really wanting to go home. It's my laziness.
Yeah.
It's my big motivator.
I remember the boat episode, the P. Diddy boat dance being.
Oh my God, Caitlin dancing with the.
And did we actually light that boat on fire? Like
No, that was a CGI.
That was CGI, right?
We did a lot of CGI, apparently.
Yeah.
But you remember with that boat, we took an old crummy boat, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
And then they made it look older. And it just, then
They made
looked,
it look more like a set.
it made it look
Yeah,
more
then
like
we
a
were
set.
upset. We're like, the boat looked old. Why
The
did
boat
you
already
make it
looked
older?
old. Why did you have to make it look old?
Long Beach, right?
So we're down in
Yeah.
Long Beach, right? And I actually swam in there, that filthy water.
This is boat music.
We had to hide Caitlin's pregnancy for the first half of the season.
We had to take a boat out to the boat.
This guy.
Yep.
And where were you? Like, did you guys also have a boat that you were filming from?
I think we were filming from a barge that was like a flat pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can taste that sort of endangered tang. That's it. Oh, hold on.
I do.
Endangered tang.
Endangered species are delicious.
Charlie, did you guys ever find those keys?
That's why they're endangered.
I did actually. I did.
The orange Ruffy, for instance.
Okay, great. I need you to grab Frank and Dee and get the hell out of there because we're going to be bringing back a couple of tasty treats, if you know what I'm saying. Hey, man, yeah, absolutely. I'll get right on that. What? That's how you patronize someone right there. What? Dennis, beat a dick. Don't worry about it, man. Hey, the scuba equipment's broken. It's useless. What the hell with it? Let's get back to shrimping. I'm gonna toss this shit. It's crap anyway.
That was not CG. That was real.
Yeah. That was,
Flame bars.
If the boat is on fire. What do you mean? Boat is on fire! Oh, fire!
Now, where we shoot that? We shot that
Fire's getting big!
fire shot on the lot,
I
right?
think so. Yeah, I think we shot that on the lot.
Yes.
So what
that's-
and then we just have a lighting effect in the
Yes.
window there.
Yeah, I think we had to shoot that actually outside and take some of that set outside.
really?
Yeah, I think so because you can't light something on fire in set.
That's right.
Out into the sea. It's so much more romantic in the middle of nowhere, where we can be completely alone. You can make rash decisions based on fear. Right, Dennis?
Yeah.
Mac not understanding the implication quite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're right.
Understanding it, but not
Coming out of
understanding
that
it.
He said how to communicate.
Yeah.
Out of my way. No more diddy boat.
Damn catfish nipping at my heels, all the way endangered my ass. There's a billion of them out there.
What the hell happened? That was a hell of a swim.
Charlie, where's the boat? What happened to the boat?
It's right there.
Wait, yeah, how would we not see that?
Now that is CG.
You know,
It looks pretty good. for
Yeah, it
CG.
does.
it's not. Yeah.
How did we sync it?
The thing lighting on fire is really funny.
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And even the,
How do we
But
do the
dancing.
syncing?
How do we make it sing?
Yeah.
CG, some computer,
Fanatic.
Maybe we sunk something and then I don't know.
Well,
It's a long time
now,
ago.
did having Randall on the season 5 inspire you to be like, oh, maybe we could do a whole thing on a boat? Like, just in terms of they talk about how you brought scale to the show and like kind of
well, I
made you
we
think
would
you could
write things,
Yeah.
assuming that we were going to find the way to shoot them where you couldn't actually see. Like, so we would have written the hockey thing, assuming, well, we won't actually like see the stadium, or we would have written that being like, well, you might not actually see like the boat sink. You might,
Yeah.
So you were the one, I think, saying, no, the world has changed. We can there's technology.
There's ways to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and that you don't have to spend $1 billion to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how we sunk the boat, but I think it was just, took a plate of it and just, shot it so that it was, a thing that you could manipulate on its own.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, explain a plate to the general audience.
so, sometimes you're shooting something on a green screen where you can isolate the character or the element that you want to isolate and lift it off the background and put it onto another background, another plate. So that's what I'm sure we did is we just shot that as a plate, shot 15 seconds of it, and then it was isolated and manipulated and it was its own layer.
Now here we weren't allowed to go to a game and film at a game, which was our first request. But we were allowed to film a game. We weren't allowed to get on the ice and do the whole
Give him the tape.
scene, which would taken a lot of time. But so that shot, these are stunt guys
yep.
in Philly.
Yep. That's us.
That's us.
Comped. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's obviously.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell, unfortunately.
Kind
but-
of tell there.
Yeah, you can certainly see
bit.
green.
Now that's real.
And that was real. Well,
That's all comped.
I remember not feeling
jabronis.
I remember feeling upset that the stunt guys were doing. The stunt guy for me was doing bad skating. I'm like, hey man, Charlie Kelly skates good.
Yeah, this all was so much green
That shot
screen.
looks great now.
Yeah.
Snap zone.
But you kind of also can't tell. I mean, it's pretty darn good. Oh yeah, the choice to explode that was a lot of fun.
Has cemented himself as a Philly sports legend.
I remember this shot. It pans over to a tight shot, right?
No,
Right here. Mac. Right
So that's the state. So you must have sent them a shot list.
yeah.
Mac, wake up! Mac, wake up! Mac, wake up!
And that's a rink somewhere in Burbank.
Yeah. We must have gone there and shot that Mac.
You went to Philly.
Yeah.
You
I
went
think
to Philly.
you went to Philly
with
and
a
To shoot that stuff? I mean, I
think so.
remember. So that wasn't just a second unit director.
I think I thought I remember
Yes.
that stuff because I remember the board moving in the background.
So you must have gone with a unit.
Mm-hmm. Did we shoot in Philly in season 6? There's some seasons we have shot there and some we haven't.
I think it wasn't hockey season by the time we were filming. So like you must have gone earlier, like while we were.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just went. I just did. I'm sure you'd get on the. You'd be able to go there now, right?
Now we could.
Yeah,
now I bet we could work it out. But you know, they're not like hey, it's a game. There's a team. We're not gonna like, the fans are there for a game, not for you guys to film a scene for 8 hours on the ice.
I went and shot basketball for It's Always Sunny for Abbott Elementary, and I had 4 minutes, and you're part of a much, much bigger thing, and it's clear how little you matter to them. It's like, okay, you're off, you're done, you got your 4 minutes. I need one more. No, you're done.
It ain't about you.
Cool. We're running a $2 billion franchise here.
Nobody cares about your little show.
It's like whenever you shoot on the Universal lot, you shoot on one of the lots, and all of a sudden you just hear like a ding, 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 and you hear like someone like, they're over here, they're shooting, and then you look up and it's a tram car that's coming through. And you're like, we're shooting here, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't care.
Yeah,
Get out of the
we make
way.
more money off the park than we do.
The park, it makes way more money. Get out of the way, actors. We will run you the fuck over.
They don't give a shit.
They do not care.
They would, the people in the car would love to see that. Actually,
First of all, they're like, "What show is this? We've never heard of this."
Another thing you shot was the Kitten Mittens commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any memories of shooting that?
DickTowel.com.
Dick Towel. Yeah,
Kitten Mittens.
episode.
I remember. I remember to get the cat to walk funky.
Mm-hmm.
We trained with a cat. Put some like corn or something in the mittens, so the cat.
So that it was uncomfortable.
It was like walking really, really funny.
Oh, really? I thought it was just doing that because the mittens were on.
No,
it was like, I got to get
there
these
was
off.
something in there. I don't remember what it was. Rice or
I like the idea of it being corn. Let's go with that. I don't know why, but
Cut that. Get a call from PETA. Send him Randall.
You made that cat walk on corn?
Yeah.
how dare you?
He got to eat the corn afterwards. So.
Sure.
And then we got to eat the cat. It's a natural cycle of, it's totally humane.
So are you still directing Abbott Elementary?
I will be, yes.
Okay.
So I stayed on. I did the pilot and I directed the first.
Are you EPing as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I EP that. And
so you're heavily involved in that one.
It's
big hit.
Yeah.
Now, what if we said we wanted to have you back to direct more episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at some point?
Can we afford you?
I'd love to. I'd love to.
I think we can at this point, but we can try.
I'd love
Will you take scale?
Will you take scale? And will you
for
still allow us
DGA
to,
scale?
Completely steamroll you?
Yeah.
When you come in.
That's my forte.
Okay.
Just lay down. Just give up with what you want. Cry on the way home. Process it later.
We haven't talked about your house at all. Wait, we have to talk about your house for a second because you were one of the true first like California hippies that I whose compounds I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you still live there, but he lived up in the hills of Topanga Canyon. And any stalkers out there, just know if you try to find him, Topanga Canyon is massive, and you'll never find. You will die out in the woods.
Yeah, you will.
It's this old ashram where Buddhist monks used to live back in the 60s and 70s. So some weird shit was going on there. Because it transitioned from Buddhism to Mansonism, possibly.
Mansonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of overlap.
Yeah.
Sure.
A lot of meditation, but a lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs.
A lot of
peace and love,
sex.
or murder.
Some murder.
I've had somebody say, I was at an orgy at your house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool.
That's very cool.
Hey, good for you.
But you also had lots of animals.
Yeah.
And the very first time I had ever been on a horse, so he I don't know if you still keep horses, but you had horses up there, and you're like, let's just go ride on a horse. I was like, okay, I've never been on a horse before, and you're like, it's fine, it's easy. So I go, okay, and I'm just following you.
Oh shit!
So we're just going down this trail, and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, this is fun. I'm having fun, and then a deer comes out and the horse gets spooked and bucks and chucks me into next week off the horse into like these like grass / wheat fields, and I land on the ground.
You?
Oh yeah.
Oh man!
And the horse ran away, and Randall was far away, and I was just like on the ground, like
tossed off a horse.
I got tossed off a horse.
Yeah.
That's scary, dude.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
Yeah.
It could kill you.
I was laughing hysterically the entire time.
I remember I'm calling out, Rob, you good? Yep. What are you doing, man? Oh,
I'm in a bush.
I remember you didn't tell me that
I was looking for the horse. I was like, let me find this horse and get back on
find the
it.
horse first.
So I can like catch up with him. And the horse was not having it. The
Yeah.
horse was like, get the fuck away.
Horse.
Sorry about that.
Oh, horse.
Horse.
Scared horse.
Yeah.
Scared horse. Can I get back on here?
Scared 2,000-pound beast. I'm going to come to hop back on.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still in that place?
Yeah. Well,
Still riding horses?
Still riding horses.
Nice.
Yeah, still in that place. The place is very, very different. It was an ashram. I bought off an 80-year-old monk who was living there with 11 disciples. And he was a renunciast. And the first thing he certainly renounced was maintenance. And there was just shit everywhere. The whole place smelled like patchouli and incense. But that place is no longer. We started remodeling it, and then it was like, we ended up lowering the whole thing. It's like 6 inches and just building a new house.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember you were
There's
forever
maybe
working
some
on it.
spirits in there that you want to
Cleanse.
cleanse.
Yeah, you know.
Or
But
maybe
actually,
some
maybe
fun
some
ones.
good stuff. Yeah, some fun ones.
So there was a guy who came, a kid came, a week ago. I'm down mucking the horses. And this kid came up. He says, hey, do you live here? I said, yeah, I do. He says, I was born in that bedroom. I'm like, really? You better come in, man. Come check it out. And this kid who grew up in that house, walked him through the property, and he had all these memories of, it was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's awesome.
I watched my parents fuck there. I watched my parents fuck other people there.
I watched Charlie Manson murder somebody over there.
Yeah.
California was a strange place.
Super strange.
I saw a buck naked Peter Bogdanovich still wearing his ascot right here.
Right,
and
right there. And I'll never forget that.
This came up on the podcast when your name was mentioned. Were you aware that your last name means unicorn in German?
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
Yeah, I brought this up.
It's unicorn sounds better than Einhorn. I don't even like saying it.
Yeah.
It's kind of doesn't have a, but like German, it doesn't really have an elegance to it. So Einhorn, yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty cool.
It's a good, memorable name.
It's not as magical as unicorn, though. I
No,
guess.
it's not. It's my family crest,
Is a unicorn?
Is a unicorn?
No. But my company
It's Bangor
name
Canyon.
is Sad Unicorn.
Oh,
Sad
nice.
Unicorn.
that's nice.
Because there's nothing funnier than a sad unicorn, I think.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a sad unicorn?
Well,
I
they're
just
all
picture
sad,
they're
right?
all-
Because they only
they're all
have one
sad.
horn.
Yeah.
they always wanted more.
Yeah. Well, most other beasts have two.
Yeah. So it's always bummed them out.
Well, this has been anything other than sad. We've loved having you on.
It's
We've
been
loved having you
wonderful.
as an
Yeah,
actor.
man.
Yeah.
So good
Again,
to
I don't
just
know
see
if
you.
we can afford you. We definitely can't afford you anymore, but we'd love to have
I
you
would
back.
love to come play.
Great.
You would? Oh, yeah. It was absolutely always a giggle,
I would love to have you back.
Yeah.
I always had a giggle. It was always fun.
Yeah.
Remember Sweet D stuck to the floor in the movie with
We
blood?
just
We
talked
were
about
just
that.
talking about
yeah,
it
last
and how
episode.
miserable that was.
And she was fine, though. She was
Yeah,
yeah,
she was game, yeah.
literally glued to the floor. With
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Randall.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you.
Thank you, Randall.
What a
Good to see
treat.
you.
Great to see you,
What a
bud.
treat,
Good to see you.
man.
And that's it.
That's
That's
a
it.
podcast.
Ta-da.